Tonight on America, the Conversation, Andrew and Tim discuss the Actors and Writers Guild strikes and the importance of unions and workers' rights. Since when do workers need rights? Since always. Well, you learn something new every day, and you will learn all that and more tonight on America, the Conversation. Hello and welcome to America the Conversation. I am one of your hosts, Tim Philippi, who is glad that Ronald Reagan is dead, and with me as always is Andrew Turner, who, Andrew, how do you feel about that, what I just said?
I wish Ronald Reagan was more dead.
Oh, yeah. Can you be, well, in D&D, I think you can be more dead, so, and which I think he was very against with the whole satanic panic back in the 80s.
My point is that I am to the left of Tim.
I wish he was more. Yeah, I mean that is more than me. Like, because I do wish he was more dead. I guess that too.
Yeah, right. There we go. That's the synopsis of this podcast.
You pushed me. You pushed me more to the left. No, I think.
Yeah, and I pulled him.
There we go. That whole point is to get me more left. You've done it successfully thus far, so I don't really know how much more left I can get. But other than being
left
a tanky,
is best.
No,
tanky is too far for.
Yeah, I don't want to do tanky.
We're not physically fit or young enough to be tankies. Just because if you're correct as a tanky,
I'm also a pacifist.
It's going to be a war. Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
I'm not.
No, yeah, that's where I do have to draw that line where I am a absolute not.
But I would never
pacifist,
encourage anything illegal, audience.
No. Just
never.
Well, no, I can't encourage that.
Don't be gay and do crimes. I'm not saying
don't be gay and do crimes. Well, be gay and maybe just don't do a lot of crimes. If you do, hire Legal Eagle at the Eagle team. They can help you.
Yeah.
Great channel, great law firm. Will be any of my lawyers if I ever need it. Yeah. So we're talking about, not just because we're not talking about Reagan being dead, but it's part of it because he hated unions. We're talking about the unions right now because, well, they're kind of in the news. Right, they're in the news with SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA. Jesus Lord, that is a lot of letters to say in one thing. And the Writers Guild, as well as UPS, about to possibly, what was it, in September? Or is that Ford is about to strike in September? There's so many strikes about to happen. It's hard to keep up. And with unions being at an all-time popularity high, it's kind of expected. Dude, how many Starbuckses? Has it been a lot of Starbuckses? It feels like a lot every time I hear Starbucks is unionized in Buffalo or in Louisiana. Like, that I know. But there's been a lot.
I believe it started in Buffalo for Starbucks.
Yeah, that was the first one, right? Like Bernie Sanders and AOC were up there.
Wikipedia articles, not the most highest quality of research, but as of June 2023, over 8,000 workers at 331 Starbucks stores in at least 40 states in the United States have voted to unionize, primarily with Workers United. Yeah, I think that we're definitely in a resurgence of unions. I wouldn't call it the most popular time of unions in like the
not history,
popular
but
culture
in the past,
but in our
years,
lifetimes,
for sure. In our lifetime, absolutely.
Yeah, in our lifetimes, and I think that's great. It's rare that I get to just be like, that's great, and I'm not gonna be just like, that's great. But at the moment, we just stick to that point. Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a cultural undertone for pretty much everybody under 50 that the vastly wealthy and even those who are just pretty wealthy are taking advantage of us in the working class. I feel like most people realize the inherent unfair and slanted nature of the game that is modern capitalism. And for a long time, they were able to promise a better life for people using that system. And for most white men in the 50s and 60s, that was true. And they were the majority of the voting base at that time. Certainly still are the majority of the power base, but even more so then. I think that people were kind of lulled into, well, hey, I have a house, I have a car, I'm able to go to college, I'm able to work one job and have a pension. Like, things are going pretty good for me. So why do I need to have any like revolutionary ideas? Why do I need to move, radicalize? Why do I need to study political science or history? Because things are going pretty good for me as an American, and I represent all Americans because I'm a white man in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. and I at least feel that way, that I represent all Americans.
Because they all
And
looked the
so,
same, and they all had that
yeah,
parted hair. They
and
wore the
I
same
think that ties into like the whole
Eisenhower
"Make
look.
America Great Again"
Yeah.
concept, right? I think
Yeah,
that like this
absolutely.
ideal like world that a lot of American working class people that are conservative or liberal, like they want to go back to this mythical time that never existed where everybody was happy. And because there are some truisms to it, like there is truth that like jobs were more plentiful and paid better, and like
Hmm.
CEO to worker wage was much lower, and unions were strong, might have something to do with that. And you got pensions and
What's the phrase? A car in
um,
a driveway and a chicken in the oven, or something like
chicken in
that.
every pot. Yeah, a
Yeah,
chicken
chicken
in
in
every
every pot.
pot.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, while that was never the case for all Americans, Black Americans, Indigenous Americans,
Yeah.
LGBTQ Americans, like often did not get the life that was preferred. Just working class poor Americans often didn't get that life,
Hmm.
but it was certainly more obtainable in those times for the vast majority of people that were in power. And I think a lot of white suburban upper middle and lower class people look back at that time and go, man, you could raise a family on one job.
Hmm.
You could own a
Yeah.
house. You could go to college for almost free. You could certainly get a car and put a down payment on a mortgage on a house in the
Hmm.
same year,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
You can't do that
like,
now.
let alone now when rent is $2,000, which it
Hmm.
started off for an apartment like I have now, like it was $700 for a 1 bedroom apartment in Bedford, Texas when I was a
Hmm.
kid.
Yeah.
And now I can't find anything less than 16, 1700
Hmm.
that isn't a roach filled place.
Yep.
So it's like, I mean, like,
But mortgage is cheaper. So,
true, true.
so
If
you
you can
just
get
got to buy a
approved, if
house,
you have
except
the
that you
credit, and
can't.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Also, houses are 8 times the value they should be.
yeah.
But I guess once again, as we regularly do in this program, diatribing, I think that a lot of people look back and think, wow, the economics and for the working class were better in those times. And they don't associate that that's directly because we had more bargaining power as
Yeah.
working class.
Because of
There were more
unions.
because we were unionized,
Yeah.
because we were able to fight and demand better wages, better deals. And that starts with the New Deal with FDR, where the
Hmm.
unions were at the table demanding workers' rights, individual rights, Medicare, Social Security. These were all things fought for by unions. And the decline of unions seems to match up perfectly with the decline of the lower class's share of the wealth in America,
Hmm.
the decline of, actual money compared to inflation with productivity. You can tell that without a union, it is harder to demand from your boss fair pay for fair hours for fair work. That it's we are stronger together. It's
Yeah.
just that simple.
Exactly. And in SAG-AFTRA right now, which is the Screen Actors Guild, as well as the Writers Guild, within SAG-AFTRA itself, there's 160,000 members. They're all on strike right now. The writers as well. You might remember the writer's strike from 2008, which, according to a very funny Patton Oswalt bit, and technically the truth, is that it gave us reality television. It gave us the Kardashians. It was the boom from that because there was no writers. Which I would say arguably hurt television as a whole, but that's just me, and it's an unpopular opinion because literally every person I know loves Love Island. More power to them. But the point is, and I want to get ahead of this before we get into this. There's been a slew of videos I keep seeing and arguments I see people making who are anti-union that this is just a ploy for rich actors and writers to make more money and they're overpaid and blah, blah, blah. First, not everybody's Tom Cruise, not everybody's Helen Mirren, not everybody's Harrison Ford. The actor you were watching on the show you watched last night, every goddamn one of them likely makes less than you. They are a blue collar actor, if you will, a blue collar writer. And a writer you watch makes significantly less than the actor. If you sell a script, say you are one of the few people who writes this amazing script and a studio buys it for $100,000. That's a good price. You might get a bonus if it gets made, but they could also keep that script and leave it on the fucking shelf. Or now they can just have a fucking computer write it, which is one of the many things that they are fighting against, because you can now, in the case of Sarah Silverman, she had her book that's out, multiple books that she's written, multiple comedy bits that she's written. She had ChatGPT say, write me a comedy bit in the style of Sarah Silverman, and lo and behold, it spit out something that she could herself, in her words, have easily have written. And they are now suing OpenAI, and I believe Google as well, who illegally scraped all of this shit from the internet. Like, I love Bard and I love ChatGPT as much as the next person. I think it's a great tool. It's not going to replace anybody, and that's what these people are fighting for. And they're going to win because, I mean, without the actors, without the writers, you don't have entertainment. Most of the directors, including Christopher Nolan, said, I'm not working on anything until the writer strike's over. So basically, go fuck yourselves. Like, and the directors are also probably about to strike as well come September. I think that's the timeline I saw there. But this is the first time it's happened where both of them have struck the same time since the 60s. Like, it's fucking crazy. And you know, there was another one of the ladies on Orange is the New Black posted it, and this is got out there as well, where she posted a video of her royalties. Now, back in the day, I made a TV show. It streamed. It went into syndication after 100 episodes. Say I'm Will Smith. I'm from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He would get normally royalties from that all the time. Every actor that was on that.
Sir, no Will Smith, and you are no Will Smith.
I know I am no Will Smith. Will just in
also,
general.
I don't know Will Smith. No. That's a lie.
Tyra Banks, Will Smith, everybody who was on that show got royalties from Family Matters, Friends, any sitcom you've ever watched, any TV show. If it's played on TV, they get a certain percentage of what's happening. Same thing goes with music. Anytime a song is played on the radio, at least it was 9 cents per play or something like that on the radio, something to that effect. It's been a while. I don't know if it's changed. And that's like on the congressional level. But so with these royalties, you get a royalty check every 4 months. That's how some people pay their mortgages. Hell, and then there's also people that could license their image to say, Caress the shampoo. And I'll specifically why I'm mentioning them, I'll say in a second. Well, now with streaming, you don't really get royalties anymore because, say, in the case of The Office, they gave the rights to The Office to Netflix. Netflix pays Universal that fee. Universal is not required to pay the actors anymore because of that. They don't have to pay them per click, per view, for anything because, one, Netflix doesn't say how many views they have. They're historically shady and secretive about that. But two, they just simply don't pay any royalties. In the case of Orange is the New Black, a Netflix-specific show, one of the actors who, again, she was on every single episode, 1 cent for every single episode, all the way down for every single. That was her royalty check, was 1 cent per. How many episodes were there? Maybe 45, 50. So 50 whole cents. So that's a lot of work, a lot of royalties that she can't use.
I mean, I saw something similar with one of the She-Hulk writers for one of the episodes, made $300 in total in royalty checks this entire. And this is a huge Marvel budget. No matter how you feel about any of these shows or the actors or whatever, these are huge budget offices that are making in profit millions and millions of dollars, and then also lying about those profits and doing tax fraud. But that's a whole nother conversation about Hollywood. But I mean, like, yeah. I could not agree with you more. I think that the individual writers, especially after streaming, have really gotten screwed over. Same with a lot of actors on residual checks. It used to be that if you were in something like Seinfeld, if you were in something that was a big hit, you could live the rest of your life making residuals off that money. But that has changed with streaming services because they have completely changed the worker contract on those. And people who are making some of the things that you watch and see, whether that be Game of Thrones or Ted Lasso or whatever, are not getting paid what the value of their work is, even to a 10th, let alone a living standard. And
they've been fighting to keep people from being paid for years. This is not even just streaming; it's new things.
Their demands are reasonable because, like, the studios do want to use AI to write all these scripts if they can. The studios do want to sign people up on a 1-day fee. This is what they proposed as a counter. Yeah. Sign people up on a 1-day fee, scan their face, scan their body, take their likeness and rights, get them to sign for a one-time fee. Like, here's $1,000. Now we can use you as a background actor in any show, anytime for the rest of time without you making $1. Like, they want to eliminate the idea of an extra or background actors and only have celebrities.
And a lot of people make their livings that way. In Austin, lots of people go be extras in shit because there's tons of things around that you can go do that. And it's about $150 a day.
if you want to be an actual film actor or like a TV actor, it's how you get your foot in the door if you don't have
exactly. Yeah.
connections. Like, because you start taking those roles, you go in the back, you know, maybe one day somebody says, hey, the director pulls you aside, like,
You
hey, actually,
play dead,
could
play
you
zombie.
yeah, exactly. Or they're just like, hey, actually, we need someone to react to this and they didn't show up. Can you like give a like, oh my God
Exactly.
face? And then all of a sudden you have a clip to put in your portfolio that's like not just you walking in the background, like you acted in that. Like, and these are very specific like examples, right? Anecdotal examples. But the fact is the vast majority of people that you see on TV or write or produce or do the lighting, like do anything that is working class in those shows, are not making enough money to pay the bills. There are some utilitarians actually in the crew that are making good money because their unions have kept up negotiations that like really well, and they said any production, you know, not just streaming or TV, they just say, hey, if we put up the lighting, you know, Teamsters are that way. Like if we deliver this stuff,
They
we
won't
don't
cross
care
picket
what we're
lines.
fucking delivering to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying in general, like specifically the writers and the actors over the last 30 years. And we're not talking about, you know, your Ryan Goslings and like, we're not talking about like, we're not talking about Jennifer Lawrence here. Like there are superstars.
You're
Sure.
talking about the guy who played Pam's fiance on The Office. We're talking about random people who played bit parts, like
who get
that guy you saw in that one thing, that lady you saw who's been in like everything. That
who even like 10, 20 years ago were only making $20,000-$30,000 in between shows and gigs, which could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months. You know, we both know
the
from this
minimum
industry
for a main
like,
character was like 30,000. I remember hearing that.
You have to make a certain amount of money to like get healthcare through the union, like to do that kind of stuff. So I mean, like a lot of these people, like they're not rich and famous and living the life of celebrity. In fact, the vast majority of them aren't, that are fighting for that. There are celebrities on their side because they were in their shoes at one point and they've been a union member, and they're like, no,
all the
I
major
agree.
like A-listers, Meryl Streep, Tom Cruise, Hugh Jackman.
But you have to remember,
Brian Cox.
Bob Iger makes more than almost any other actor in the world.
Let's
Not
get
every
into
actor,
this.
but almost any.
Let's get into these fucks. And real quick, before we start listing off all of these major CEOs' salaries, which I have somewhere on this fucking thing.
I had their addresses, audience, but Tim said no.
No.
I was going to read off their addresses, but
here's
Tim
where
said
Bob Iger lives. Now, let Ron Perlman, let him get indicted for that one.
Here's the gate code for Bob Iger's first gate. I don't know what to do about the Dobermans, but that's on you, audience.
There's a moat and at least 2 Illuminati brand alligators. They are dangerous.
There are Crimeas of like half man, half mouse that walk around going, "Oh, protect Bob!"
Yeah, there is a Cerberus. There might at least one at least at David Zaslav's house.
This is satire for both Bob Iger and Disney's notification. This is satire.
It's a satire. We know you don't have a Cerberus, and we don't have
political comedy.
Political comedy troupe at America the Podcast Presents. But before I read all this, one other thing about use of image, right? So if 2 things you want to watch if you're curious about the use of your image being scanned and things like that. Their movie, The Congress with Robin Wright, is very good. It's also very, very trippy about halfway through, but it deals with scanning your image and never being able to act again. Because Robin Wright specifically never wanted to do a science fiction movie. She was very against it. I don't know why. This is a personal thing. But then they end up using her image in like a million different science fiction movies, blimps that hover over the sky. It's amazing. But then there's also the infamous Black Mirror episode with Annie Murphy and who's the woman that is playing her on Jonah's Awful. Have you seen this yet? The newest Black Mirror season? Holy shit! Watch that.
I'm with you, audience. I don't know. I have no idea.
It deals with making it deals with making movies out of scanning your image and scanning your life, watching you through a Wi-Fi router, and putting you through a quantum computer and assigning Selma Hayek to play you in a movie or a TV show on Streamberry, as they call it in the show. Great episode, covers a lot. One other thing real fast. The 3 girls that are on One Tree Hill years ago. I just saw this interview today with one of them. One Tree Hill was a CW or WB show at the time, CW now. And the 3 of them had their license or their images randomly licensed to Caress. I brought them up earlier. one of them's driving down the street one day and sees her face along with her two other co-stars saying, "Which One Tree Hill girl are you?" With caress. And she's like, "I didn't license any of this." They got paid nothing for it. And then there was another time where they were told to go do something for like L'Oreal or some other shampoo or some other brand in general, to go and do promotion for them because they needed to make up loss of income on the show, and they needed to make up production dollars. Like, so these three girls have to go make up production dollars when literally Warner Brothers is the head of all of this and could easily do that. So, Andrew, if you would like, you can read off all of these fuckheads, millions and millions of dollars and in assets, including someone. Not gonna lie, hope is my boss someday. Love you, Bob Iger. Would love to work for Disney. Love to write Star Wars. Okay, go. if you've got it up. I don't want to work for Bob Iger. I just want to write Star Wars. All right, I love it.
I'm holding out for Bob Iger to sell it to Apple. Tim Apple.
Oh yeah, no, I'll work for Tim Apple.
Tim Apple. This is a comedic sidekick in an offshoot Star Wars movie if I've ever seen one.
Exactly.
Right, this is a bumbling fool that entertains children right here.
We don't necessarily hate Tim Apple, and we just do like calling you Tim Apple, Mr. Cook, because it's
what do you
very
imagine
funny.
Jar Jar, but good. That's what I'm going for.
Imagine a Jar Jar people like and isn't kind of racist.
Jar Jar energy, but also human and about 150 pounds overweight. Anyways,
Bob Iger.
Also, black Irish. That being said, so Bob Iger. I think I'm going to do this, as stout as I can. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney. 31 million annually. David Zaslav, Warner Brothers and Discovery. 39.3 million in 2022.
247 and 21.
2021.
Yeah.
For earnings.
Go faster. This is going to take forever in that voice.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Tencent Rest Netflix earned 53.3 million in 2022, a 31.7% increase in the previous year, primarily due to increased stock options, expected to make 40 million in 2023.
Two of these guys are Netflix. Yeah, Craig Peters.
The former chief of product and operating officer, now co-CEO, made 28.1 million in 2022, expected to make 34.7 million in 2023. Brian Roberts of Comcast, 2002, he made 32 million in 2022, slightly down from his 2021 earnings of 34 million. Michael Kavanagh of Comcast, the CFO and newly appointed president, earned 40.5 million, Jesus Christ, in 2022. Bob Bakish of Paramount Global, that CEO, earned 32 million in 22, a 35.7% increase from the previous year. Tim Cook, that's my boy, Tim Cook.
Yeah, Tim Cook, who runs a like $3 trillion company. Yeah, oh my God. Say it.
He made $99.4 million in 2022.
Read the increase.
More than triple that of the next highest paid executive, a 573% increase from his 2020 earnings.
Oh my God.
That's just fucking amazing.
And then Amazon
Andy Jassy of Amazon, the CEO, made 1.3 million in 2022, a significant decline from his 2021 earnings of 213.
Yeah, I'll say a fucking significant decline. Jesus, what happened to you? Oh my God. Well, good for that guy. I guess he made the least, but still, yeah. Like,
COVID
this is insane.
COVID happened.
Yeah, COVID happened. Yeah, that's true. Tim Cook is his is the least surprising to me just because of how wealthy Apple is. But like, and they're not. I know they're a studio now, but they're barely a studio. They're about to be a bigger one when they buy Disney, probably by the time this episode is out. So congratulations, Apple. You now own.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure you didn't make most of that 99 million exploiting.
No, yeah,
SAG or SAG,
just
SAG-AFTRA
warehouse workers in China and everywhere else and things like that. Yeah.
So, just like good old fashioned colonialism.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how much they fucking make, and they're like complaining right now that the best image that we've seen so far was Bob Iger saying these things are unrealistic, the demands are unrealistic, and that they can't easily afford this, as he's sitting at a billionaire retreat with a fleet of private jets behind him overlooking a wonderful valley. And then I don't know where this article was. I kept trying to find it. Tell us if you see it anywhere, audience. But if every one of these studio CEOs got rid of their fucking took a 2% pay decrease, all of the demands are met. Every goddamn one, physically. Maybe not. They still got to work out the whole AI thing, but yeah, all the fiscal demands are met at that point. So
yeah, I think it's
2%.
I think it's if the studio profits and the CEOs took a 2% cut, it would cover everything.
Yeah.
So like it includes the corporations too that are making money hand over fist even more than these CEOs. Like, so I mean, and then reinvesting in stocks. But yeah, here's the deal. I mean, yes, may we get a year where you don't have a bunch of new movies and content, you know, that's
so
from
much
the
already to
classical
watch.
Hollywood shit. There's
Watch
plenty
new
to
shit.
watch. It is worth it to make sure the people who make the things that I love have housing, have food, are paid a livable wage, earn the money that they earn, right? Like are actually paid the value of worth and production that they present. And I'm willing to take 6 months of watching reruns that I was already going to watch anyway.
Yeah,
instead,
you're already going to watch The Office,
or
guys.
find
you are.
YouTubes. Yeah. and by the way, that's another thing is SAG and the Writers Guild also said they want you to go see the movies that are currently out. They want you to still make sure that the cast and crew in these movies do well and perform well.
Tom Cruise is even like fighting to like let us still promote our movies.
Journalists
happening.
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But
yeah, I understand his complaint because like, well, the movies are already struggling so hard. Like, well, he's not. He's Mission Impossible.
I'm sure he's fine. But yeah, I mean, like they are saying you can still attend, but there is going to be kind of like a dry spell, just like there was in the early 2000s or the late 2000s when this happened before. And it's going to be even more so and probably longer this time because they're fighting for not to be replaced by AI. They're fighting for
longer. I think it was going to go faster with it, especially if the directors chime in and if UPS
the CEOs are delusional.
Yeah, that's true. I know that, like, but then there's also the Teamsters that might not like if UPS strikes and the Teamsters don't cross picket lines.
I think that the CEOs think that they are on the cusp of getting rid of 90% of the workforce through AI, and they are like, we are going to prove it now when we start to make shows, and you'll all see shitty fucking shows. They've already demonstrated it. One company did as a demonstration in AI with a South Park recreation.
Oh, right. Yeah, I just saw
the bland, worst version of South Park you ever saw. Like,
it wasn't Trey and Matt that did that. I thought that they would have done that.
No, that was a random company as a demonstration, like that they could do it. And it just demonstrated. It was the most bland, like unfunny fucking version of South Park you've ever seen. But it looked like, you know, early 2010 South Park, like in
choppy
animation.
And,
yeah, still choppy, but like high def. Like a lot of care and effort was into it. But you could see how, like, if you did that 1,000 times and cut the best of it, and then hired only voice actors for one day after you've sensitized their voice saying 1,000 times, actually, like you could make content that's mediocre.
Yeah.
Doing that. But
speaking of, for any voice actor out there, I'm a voice actor. Andrew's a voice actor. Get a clone of yourself made if you can. Get a clone of your voice. Own your voice. Own your copyright. Copyright your image. There's tons of places that can help you with that. It does cost, but you need to do that fucking now because they are trying to steal your voices actively.
I'm good on that because I gave Theb my third toe.
It was supposed to be the pinky.
He told me the middle toe gets me my likeness through my soul through all eternity. That's what he said.
And
he said the pinky toe gets me a sandwiches on Thursdays. Any po' boy.
That's about as much as you're gonna get. At most a Subway, and which is like I think 30% sawdust
toasted?
in their bread. Yeah, sure. I'll talk to him.
Yeah, I'll make out like a king.
Yeah, then this is the kind of shit they're trying to offer the unions too. Basically, like, would you like a sandwich for your fucking toe? Like, yeah, no. Like, I mean, dude, they used to not. What was the payment? Like, you make more money under a union. You have better protection under a union. They will constantly try and propagandize you every single time that there's like talk of being unions. They'll try and scare you out of them. It's insane. What was the stupidest one that I ever saw was at Delta. What was it? Union dues cost more than an Xbox. Spend your money wisely or some shit like that. And like saying like, wouldn't you rather have a fucking Xbox over than access to lawyers, health insurance, fucking better pay,
livable wage, and health insurance later, long term? Fuck that. I get Xbox now. I need to play Horizon Zero Dawn. So I mean, like,
don't worry about your mental health. Just zone out while you fucking play Call of Duty at night. That's it.
You can look at a chart, audience. And you can see there's multiple charts that can be shown this. I'm not well prepared today because I'm in the middle of moving still. But
Yeah.
as union membership decreases throughout the United States from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s to today, so does the middle class income shrink right along with it. It is almost parallel as a chart. And if we want to claw back more wealth and income for millennials and Gen Z, we're going to have to unionize and work together. Unions only represent about 10% of the workforce now. It was 20% in the 80s and 30% in the 70s. It does seem to be a trend that's reversing, but the average American worker, as you were talking about just a second ago, that's unionized actually makes 13% more in a salary than the non-union worker in the same position. That roughly equates to about $1.3 million more for the average salaried worker over their lifetime that they get if they were in the union versus if they weren't. They're more likely to have health insurance. They're more likely to have that health insurance cover more of it from the company itself. They're more likely to have paid and sick time. They're more likely to have a retirement plan and a pension. You're less likely to be fired when you're part of a union because oftentimes unions require due process and protections ending at will employment whenever you join that union. Multiple studies have found that unionized workplaces are safer as well, with less workplace accidents reported to OSHA and fewer fatalities in those accidents when they do happen. Unions also help every working class American, whether you're in the union or not, because when unionization goes up in a specific area, right, like other industries around that are in the same company or industry in that area, or just over wide into the industry at all, they say, okay, well, I'll raise your wages and benefits if you promise not to unionize. So unions in themselves
Which they did at Starbucks,
are a rising
actually.
tide, a rising tide that lifts all boats. And is there truth that like there's been corruption in unions before? Yes, just like in every organization of human beings that's ever existed, there's been corruption and bad examples. But the vast majority of the time, historically speaking, unions have been a boon to the American worker from the 1940s onward. Unions, and before then, even the 1920s and 10s, unions have fought for the American working class against the capitalist class. And I don't mean people who like capitalism, which I'm sure some of you listeners, I mean actual capitalists, people who own the means of production, people who are the owners of these
You are not a
factories
capitalist
and these corporations.
audience, unless you own
You're
a business.
You're a fan. Unless you own the means of production. Yeah. While other people work it, you are not a capitalist. You are just a fan of capitalism. Yeah. You are a simp. But nonetheless, yes, you're a simp for your fucking boss. You lick the boot. But yeah, I think that it is pretty obvious through historical means and measurement that unionization of Americans correlates to better economic outcomes for the working and middle class and lower class of America.
Yeah.
No matter your race, color, creed, gender, sexual orientation, lifestyle, like it is unionization that is going to be key to us taking back not just the political wins that we need, but more so just the day-to-day work environment and like basic human rights at your job that you have, America. Like we are going to have to fight for it because the government isn't going to give it to us. We have to demand it.
No. And as we end, like ask yourselves this, like the fact that these corporations fight so hard they intimidate, they scare, kids out of joining unions. I mean, there's just so many examples that there's not literally enough.
And they'll fire organizers.
They'll fire
bullshit
reasons.
reasons. They've done it several times at Starbucks. They'll shut down entire branches for safety concerns that were never there before. And it's all illegal already federally. But the agency enforces this, doesn't have the manpower, much like the IRS. They can't tackle rich people. Doesn't have the manpower. And there's no fines for doing this kind of stuff. Nope. You just have to rehire the employees when you get caught and pay them back pay. So why not break the law and take the risk that you still get to fire the troublemaker if you're just going to not have to pay anything? We need laws on the books from the federal government that say if you do union busting, you will pay huge amounts of money and it'll go directly to the union dues. How about that?
Yeah. And like, again, ask yourself if they're fighting this hard, like what's scaring them? And also if they're fighting you this hard and trying to intimidate you this much, maybe they're not the ones in the right because the unions aren't trying to intimidate you into, like, the most they're trying to do is hand you a card and say, here, call me when you're away from your boss. Like, that's not what they're not being like, they fearmonger what the unions do. They fearmonger everything. So those who fearmonger you, ask yourself, are they right? Because they're probably not. if you're that scared of getting rid of the thing that's going to help you. So
to give the parable, to steal a Disney parable and make Disney
Sure.
a good guy at the end here, even though they're one of the most horrible countries in the world. Companies, excuse me. There is a tale of what the life is like to be a bug that I watched when I was a child, and the
movie Ants.
Antagonist, the movie Ants, the DreamWorks movie Ants, not the Disney movie A Bug's Life, is the one I'm referencing. In A Bug's Life, there is a cricket that is the antagonist for you Gen Zers. He's a big cricket that picks on all the ants and fights our protagonist ant and kicks him out of the colony. And at one point, they bring up this protagonist ant that stood up to him and spoke his voice out when the rest of the ants were bringing their offering to the grasshoppers that come yearly to take the food. And 3 of the crickets are like, "It's just one ant. What big deal is it, boss?" And he throws a couple of pieces of food at him. He's like, "Yeah, that's just one ant, right? That's just one ant." And then he rips it off the wall and kills all 3 of them in an avalanche. And he says, "There are 100 of them for every one of us. And if they ever realized that, we're finished."
Exactly.
And that is true of every American worker right now. If you all united and said to your boss, "I'm not going to work unless you do this,"
there's a word
you
for
would
it.
win every time.
It's called a strike. And you should go on strike. You should unionize. And if they don't give you what you want, go on strike. Do it. Do it now. Do it. Do it. I'm intimidating you into doing this. Do it now. No, don't do it. No, well, do it.
Absolutely.
I'm not intimidating you. And that's it. Joining union, support your unions, and cheers to SAG-AFTRA. I keep wanting to call the Writers Guild Warner Brothers. Well, fuck Warner Brothers.
WAG.
WAG, yeah. WGA, technically.
WGA.
WGA East and West. And then
Wicken.
Yeah, well,
WGA's
cheers to all of you, UPS, Ford, and all the car companies that are also about to strike. More power to you guys. We're with you.
Strike.
And, strike,
Solidarity.
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 Good night. Here's the strikes.
Tim, I'm going to go on a strike.
All right, fine. I meet all your demands. Stop. There you go. It's that easy. It's that easy to do a strike. Okay, bye.
Boom.
You've been listening to America the Conversation, a production of Shway Media and America the Podcast Presents. The show is created and is hosted by Tim Phillippe and Andrew Turner. The show's theme song is by Timmy Two Step, and all other music and sounds heard in this show were procured through the amazing companies listed in our show notes. America the Conversation is mixed and edited by Tim Phillippe at Shway Media Studios in Austin, Texas. For more information, please visit shwaymedia.com. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.
This has been a production of Shway Media, all rights reserved. For more information, please visit shwaymedia.com.